There's a reason most people never completely understand their finances, and it's not a lack of information. It's not because they don't work hard, and it's not due to a lack of brains, passion, or capability. The problem is that they never develop the mentality needed for mastery. They spend their lives obeying systems they didn't design, repeating beliefs they never questioned, and reacting to money rather than managing it. They don't take charge because they've been conditioned to believe money rules them. Mastering your financial future starts long before your first investment, promotion, or decision on how to expand your income. It starts with your mindset, how you think, how you see yourself, and how you define riches not just externally but inwardly. You cannot rise financially if your attitudes about money are constrained. You cannot build prosperity if your identity is founded in scarcity. Most individuals live in survival mode when it comes to money. They wake up each day attempting to prevent loss and simply get by. Over time, this becomes the norm. They assume comfort is the aim, that if they can simply manage to be comfortable, they're doing good. But comfort is not mastery, and survival is not abundance. The goal isn't merely to have enough. It's to become someone who feels they'll always have more than enough. This is where true riches begins, not with numbers but with vision, not with your wage but with your potential. It starts when you perceive money as a tool, not a problem, as something you control instead of something that governs you. It begins when you stop reacting to events and begin rewriting your own tale. The narrative isn't only about getting money, it's about constructing a life where you never doubt your ability to create, contribute, add value, and generate wealth by who you are. Money is a mirror. It represents your behaviors, beliefs, and your level of self-worth. If you regard yourself as someone always behind, suffering, or barely holding on, your financial life will match that. But if you regard yourself as resourceful, creative, valuable, and worthy of more, your financial circumstances will begin to shift. Why? Because your thoughts shape your choices, and your choices shape your results. Over time, such results compound into your destiny. The people that succeed financially aren't usually the smartest or most educated, nor do they have the most impressive qualifications. But what they all have is a distinct perspective. They think wealth is created, not inherited. They feel they are capable of building something bigger than what they were born into. They believe money flows to value, and they are devoted to growing more valuable each day. This is the difference between financial survival and financial mastery. It's not only about budgeting, lowering expenses, or discovering the next hot stock. These things matter, but they won't function without the correct mindset. You can have the best tools, but if you don't believe you deserve to use them, you won't. You'll stay stuck, hesitate, and sabotage your own growth. You might look around and see others succeeding, thinking they're just lucky. The reality is they made a decision, and you can make that decision too. You can decide now that your financial story doesn't have to echo your history. Your identity doesn't need to coincide with your current salary. Your future doesn't have to resemble what you've seen around you. Wealth doesn't start with numbers, it starts with belief. It begins with clarity and the choice to dominate your mindset, and from there, your money. This isn't about getting rich quick. It's about becoming unshakable. It's about building from inside. It's about transforming the way you think so you can transform how you earn, save, invest, and lead. You're not here to play tiny. You're not here to just get by. You're here to lead yourself to a life of freedom, impact, and ownership. And that adventure begins now. The first method is cultivating an abundance attitude, because that's where it all starts. Your financial destiny will never surpass the bounds of your thought. If you feel the world is scarce, that opportunities are rare, that success is reserved for a select few, and that money is hard to come by and harder to keep, you'll always be in conflict with your own progress. You'll hesitate when you need to act, shrink when you need to expand, and sabotage yourself when you should be building. An abundant attitude isn't about being naive or assuming everything is easy. It's about training yourself to recognize that there's more than enough to go around, and that you have the potential to attract, generate, and increase it, not via luck or waiting, but by developing yourself into a person who gives genuine value, makes decisive actions, and attracts real opportunities. Most people don't lack intelligence, they lack belief. They're not lazy, they've just been conditioned to think little, to be cautious, to play things safe. And the language they say to themselves reflects that. I can't afford that. That'll never happen for me. People like me don't make that kind of money. But abundance doesn't respond to that kind of energy. Opportunity doesn't stick around for people who feel themselves as unworthy. An abundance mindset flips that language. It starts wondering, how can I afford that? What do I need to study to earn more? Who do I need to become to get that kind of income? It shifts from limitation to possibility, from defense to creation, from reacting to designing. It's the mental shift that moves you from hoping for better to actively planning for it. You can't master money while holding on to a mindset of scarcity. If every dollar that leaves your life generates panic, you'll never feel free. If every investment feels like a loss, every risk feels like danger, and every accomplishment someone else accomplishes makes you feel less worthy, you'll always be at odds with money, and no one builds prosperity from a place of fear. Abundance isn't about numbers, it's a condition of mind. It's looking at your future and knowing that even if everything crashed today, you would find a way to rebuild. Because wealth isn't in the account, it's in the mindset, the notion that you have value and that you can deliver value. When you adopt the appropriate mindset, you unlock the ability to earn new money again and again, no matter the season. This adjustment helps you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop resenting people who seem to have more, and you stop feeling there's not enough to go around. Instead, you start learning, you start modeling effective techniques. You begin asking smarter questions, not why them, but what can I learn from their approach, and how can I apply it to my own? You stop creating excuses because you now trust in the power of potential. And when you sincerely believe something is feasible, you stop defending your constraints. You begin to remove them. You discover reasons to take action rather than delay it. You stop blaming the economy, your background, or your current income. You stop expecting for someone else to repair it because you know the truth. You weren't waiting on them, you were waiting on yourself. Abundance begins to grow the moment you take action. It grows the instant you stop focusing on fear and move your attention to the next step. It expands when you stop hoarding your money and start directing it, not recklessly but confidently, quietly, with the understanding that money is a tool, not a danger. You learn to circulate it, regulate it, and drive it toward growth. You quit gripping on firmly and start sowing seeds. You stop focusing on cost and start focusing on value. You begin to comprehend that while money may be unlimited, your time is not. And when you value your time more than you fear losing money, your entire financial universe begins to open up. Abundance isn't just an attitude. It's a lens through which you view the world. It determines how you manage opportunities, how you speak, how you bargain, how you give, and how you receive. You cease shrinking when talking about riches. You cease feeling bad for desiring more. You stop apologizing for thinking large because you recognize that abundance in your life generates space for more abundance in the world. This doesn't mean you become irresponsible, it means you become faithful and wise. You learn to hold money with open hands, respectfully, responsibly, but not frightened. You train your ideas to serve your goal, not sabotage it, and that mindset shift alters everything. The second technique is to develop your identity before you build your income. Many individuals chase money without ever improving the person they need to be to earn it. They focus on exterior results before undertaking the interior effort. They desire the raise, the clients, the profits, and the success, but they haven't transformed who they are at their heart. The truth is, your exterior world will never transcend your inner self concept. You attract what you are, not what you desire for. You can't hang on to prosperity with a poverty mindset. You can't establish true freedom if your identity is still anchored in lack, unworthiness, or self-doubt. You may stumble into success, but you won't sustain it. That's because the version of you that achieves success must also be the version of you who can manage, multiply, and grow it. This is why so many people destroy their financial growth. They earn more money, but they don't upgrade their thinking. They land the job, but still regard themselves as someone who's suffering. They secure the chance, but they haven't adjusted their identity to match that opportunity. As a result, they subconsciously discover ways to reconnect to what feels comfortable. Familiarity doesn't always imply functionality. Sometimes the most dangerous location to be is the one you're most familiar to. Even if it's difficult, even if it's small, even if it keeps you stuck, it might seem safe. But safety isn't mastery and comfort isn't advancement. If you want to transform your financial destiny, you must become the kind of person that expects more, believes more, and shows up as more. Identity isn't transformed by dreaming, it's shaped by the decisions you make every day. Identity grows each time you do something your previous self would have avoided. Each time you act like the person you want to become, even when it feels awkward, even when it feels artificial. Over time, that habit transforms into belief, and belief becomes the new normal. You have to quit speaking things that contradict the life you're developing. Stop calling yourself broke, stop identifying yourself as bad with money. Stop identifying with scarcity, even if that's where you came from. You're not broke, you're in transition. You're not financially stuck. You're not inexperienced, you're learning. Speak from your future, not your anxieties. Move like someone who's developing something wonderful, even if the results aren't there yet. The belief has to be present first. You must think like someone who recognizes their value, respects their time, and sees their ideas as worth investing in. If you don't trust in your own worth, you'll undercharge, hesitate, overexprink in conversations that need confidence. If you want to attract money, you first have to master self-command. It starts with the internal standards you set, not the exterior image you project. The most financially liberated persons have a defined identity. They know who they are. They don't chase trends. They don't crave continual approval. They don't shift to fit in with every room they enter. Their confidence isn't artificial. It's built in who they've become. They've done the inner work to become someone capable of leading, contributing, and multiplying. You can gain money by accident, but to fully master money, you need a strong identity. You need to know what you will and won't tolerate, what you will and won't pursue, and what you will and won't devote your time or energy in. Boundaries originate from identity. Standards derive from identity. And your financial future will be founded on the standards you enforce, not the wishes you whisper. So ask yourself, who are you becoming? Who is the version of you that earns freely, gives generously, invests wisely, and leads confidently? Are your current decisions aligned with that future? Or are you still acting from an old self-concept? This isn't about pretending, it's about alignment. It's about living as the person you wish to become until that identity becomes your new reality. And the only way that happens is via repetition, clarity, and the everyday determination to show up as if your future is already true. Next, the third technique is mastering your relationship with money. Not only how you earn it, but how you see it and interact with it. Money isn't just numbers, it's emotional. It conveys stories and history. But until you address those emotions and change the narratives around money, your financial life will stay constrained. No matter how hard you try, your relationship with money is often shaped long before you ever start earning it. What you witnessed growing up, what you heard, and what you experienced all had an impact. Maybe money signified tension, guilt, control, stress, or instability. Even if you're in a different position now, those previous emotions still influence your conduct. You can't master money if you fear it, detest it, or equate it with misery. You'll either push it away, spoil possibilities, spend wildly, or hoard it out of fear. You might not even realize it, but your results will reveal it. The way you feel about money will always influence how you handle it. Mastering your relationship with money starts with honesty. You have to quit pretending and saying, "I'm fine," when you're not. You stop ignoring the bills and stop calling avoidance optimistic. Instead, sit down and confront the facts. What are the figures? What's working? What's not? And most importantly, how do you feel about it all? Because if you can't face it, you can't fix it. Avoidance is the adversary of mastery. True, enduring courage is about looking at the facts and declaring, "This is where I am, and I'm ready to do the work to change it." Once you face it, you may start to rewire it. You might learn to perceive money as neutral, a tool that flows, not something that rules you. Stop giving money all your emotional power. Stop connecting your self-worth to your bank account. Understand that money is a reflection of your behavior, not your identity. You'll begin building financial habits that mirror who you are becoming. You'll track your money, not excessively but attentively. You'll learn to handle it, not to restrict your life, but to take control of it. You'll start telling your money where to go, instead of wondering where it went. You'll stop fearing prosperity. You'll stop feeling guilty for wanting more. You'll stop connecting ambition with greed. That's because you've healed your story, taken back your power, and understood that the more financially stable you are, the more alternatives you have, the more influence you can have, and the more freedom you can build. This is where you start separating emotion from actions. You could feel undeserving, yet you still save. You might feel overwhelmed, yet you still make the call. You could feel behind, but you still invest. You cease letting emotions drive your financial decisions. Instead, you let your plan lead, and that plan becomes your tranquility, your evidence, and your anchor. It teaches you that, Even if your past was chaotic, your future doesn't have to be. Even if you've made mistakes, you may develop new momentum. Even if you didn't learn it early, you can learn it today. Mastery doesn't mean never messing up. It means learning how to recover swiftly. It means being able to course correct without spinning. It means trusting oneself to make sensible judgments, especially when you feel pressure. Over time, your relationship with money changes. It grows calmer, more confident, and more grounded. You cease being reactive. You cease running from it. You start sitting with it, respecting it. That adjustment impacts your entire financial future. Next, the fourth strategy: grow your earning potential by expanding your worth. Not just your hours, not just your hustle, your value. Because money flows to value. Always, always will. You want extra income. Become more valued. Not to everyone. Not in everything. But to the right people in the right way, solving the right problems. Most people strive to make more by doing more of what they're already doing. They work greater hours. They chase more clients. They take more calls. But they rarely stop to ask the fundamental question: how can I increase the value of what I offer so I can earn more without doing more? That's leverage. That's strategy. That's where financial growth becomes scalable. You don't get paid for your time, you get paid for your impact, for your results, for the difference you make. The bigger the problem you can solve, the more people you can aid, the more deeply you can help them, the higher your worth gets. And that value is something you develop. It's not fixed. It's not based on your age, your background, or your degree. It depends on how intentional you are about growth, about learning, about mastery. It's built on your ability to detect possibilities, generate solutions, produce outcomes. You improve your value by becoming a student of your craft, by studying the finest in your field, by going deep instead than merely staying wide, by choosing one path and mastering it. Because consumers don't pay top bucks for generalists. They pay for experts, for folks who know their stuff, who speak with confidence, who solve problems faster and with more clarity than the rest. Value comes from how you show up, your attitude, your consistency, your reliability. People will pay extra to work with someone they trust, someone who shows up on time, brings energy, leads, and doesn't need to be micromanaged. You want to earn more, solve greater challenges, be easier to work with, communicate clearly, deliver beyond expectations, be the one others can count on, and do it regularly enough that your name becomes linked with excellence. This isn't about becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming the best version of who you already are, taking your skills, your abilities, your ideas, and improving them, practicing, learning, evolving, until the market has no alternative but to recognize that you are not replaceable. When you become irreplaceable, money follows, because people don't want cheap, they want effective, they want results. And when you can produce those results at a high level, consistently, with professionalism and care, you create demand. And when you create demand, you create options. You no longer have to beg for opportunity, you start deciding between them. You stop fighting over crumbs and start assembling tables. You stop chasing bargains and start fixing your price. And that doesn't happen by mistake. It happens because you decided to boost your value, not just your volume. This applies whether you're an employee, an entrepreneur, or anything in between. You can always find ways to improve, to learn, to lead, to become the one who makes things better just by entering into the room. That sort of enthusiasm is rare, and that kind of energy gets rewarded. But it's not instant. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes humility. It takes the willingness to invest in yourself before anyone else does. The willingness to show up even when no one's looking, to study when no one's grading you, to practice when no one's clapping. Because every hour you spend creating yourself is a down payment on your future revenue. Every book you read, every mentor you learn from, every extra rep you put in, it accumulates, it adds up. And one day, you'll look back and realize your value grew not because the world changed, but because you did. The fifth strategy is to develop long-term vision with short-term urgency. You need both. One without the other is a trap. Vision without urgency becomes illusion. Urgency without vision generates anxiety. But when you combine the two, when you know exactly where you're going and move with focused intensity, you become unstoppable. Most people drift because they never set a clear vision for their financial life. They know what they don't want. They know what frustrates them. But they don't have a vivid picture of the world they're crafting. So people respond to bills, chase short-term survival, and stay locked in cycles that never break. Vision gives direction. It provides weight to your choices. It enables you say no with confidence because you know what you're saying yes to. Without vision, Everything feels equally urgent. You respond to everything and progress toward nothing. You need a vision huge enough to drive you out of comfort, big enough to make the sacrifice worth it, big enough that when it gets hard, and it will, you still move because the outcome means more than the feeling. You can't construct that kind of vision on autopilot. You have to sit with it, ask hard questions. What does financial freedom actually look like for me? What type of life am I building? What do I want my days to feel like? Not just what do I want them to cost. What do I wish to give? What legacy do I wish to leave? You get clear. You get specific, because clarity fosters commitment, and without clarity, you'll settle for tiny gains and call it growth. You'll spend years climbing a ladder that's leaning against the incorrect wall. You'll confuse motion with progress, but once you have vision, real, emotional, you need urgency. Because vision without action is just fantasy. You need a fire in your gut. You need to wake up with purpose. Because the future isn't going to hand itself to you. You have to earn it. Urgency doesn't mean panic. It doesn't mean hurrying. It means knowing that time is your most valuable money, and you don't get to waste it. It involves refusing to delay what you know you need to do. It means taking the next step, even if it's tiny now. Every day that passes is a day you don't get back. And when you actually realize that, procrastination becomes unacceptable. Comfort becomes a threat. Excuses grow pricey because you see what's at risk. You see the cost of delay. You create urgency by taking action every day, not waiting for motivation or a perfect strategy, but simply pushing forward. Even if the action is flawed or uncomfortable, you push forward because momentum is far more valuable than perfection. Action always reveals more than overthinking. When you combine vision with urgency, you generate consistency and rhythm. You quit following diversions that seem dazzling but don't connect with your broader picture. You stop wasting energy on transient trends and focus on what's everlasting. This is how you withstand the buzz. This is how you produce something that's not just satisfying in the present, but will continue to matter 10 years from now. You stop judging success by speed and start measuring it by alignment. When you live this way, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop competing because your race is unique, your vision is personal, and your urgency is holy. It's not driven by fear, it's propelled by duty. You know exactly what you're building and refuse to waste the precious time you've been granted. Vision gives your life purpose, urgency gives it momentum, and the combination of both delivers you mastery. Not only over your finances, but over your future. The sixth strategy is to create strategic relationships. You cannot handle your financial future alone. No one does. No matter how clever, disciplined, or motivated you are, you will reach a moment where your next level depends on the people you know, who you learn from, who speaks into your life, and who walks beside you. People are leverage, doors, and perspective. The perfect partnership at the right time can collapse 10 years of hardship into 1 year of progress. Not because they handed you something, but because they challenged you, sharpened you, and raised you. Most people stay stuck financially because they're surrounded by those who normalize difficulty. They say things like, money isn't everything, yet privately detest people who have it. They ridicule ambition, make fun of effort, and are committed to comfort above advancement. If you want to rise, you have to update your circle not by becoming arrogant or superior, but by understanding that your future matters enough to safeguard your environment. And your environment is made up of individuals more than anything else. You need people around you who talk ideas, not drama, who question your ambitions, not your worth, who remind you of your vision when you're feeling stuck, and who hold you accountable to your greatness, not your limits. You don't need hundreds of people, just a handful. A few genuine connections established on shared values, direction, the kind of individuals who won't let you quit or stay small, and who reflect or help elevate the standard you've set for yourself. This doesn't happen by mistake. You must be intentional. You have to seek out these people, put yourself in the appropriate rooms, join communities where growth is happening, and be willing to be the least experienced person in the room, because that's where you'll learn the most. Just as vital, you need to be that kind of person for someone else. Relationships are two-way. You don't just take, you give. You sharpen, challenge, and encourage. You produce value and bring something to the table. The quickest way to build real connections is by being valuable, not needy or entitled. Being valuable requires listening, supporting, and showing up consistently, not just when you want something. You need mentors, those who are where you want to go, those who show you what's possible, not only via inspiration but through experience, perspective, and real-world knowledge. You don't have to figure everything out on your own, nor should you attempt. Learning from others shortens your learning curve and helps you avoid costly mistakes. By asking better questions, you establish stronger habits, especially when someone holds you to a higher standard. But mentorship only works if you're humble. Growth is impossible if you're continuously focused on proving yourself. You can't learn if you're pretending to already know everything. Humility opens doors that brilliance alone can't, and when you combine that humility with hunger, people will want to help you. Stop trying to impress, start attempting to connect. Stop pursuing attention, start developing trust. The most strong financial networks are built on regularity, not charisma. They thrive on value, not volume, depth, not flair. It's not just about money. It's about the kind of life you want to lead, the conversations you want to have, and the energy you want around you. The people you surround yourself with define how you view yourself, and how you see yourself shapes what you believe is achievable. So ask yourself, who's in your corner? Who challenges you? Who expands your thinking? Who shows you what's possible? And who needs you to come up stronger, more consistent, and more intentional so they can climb too? Strategic relationships don't just help you grow, they help you continue developing. They remind you of your standards, keep you grounded, magnify your courage, highlight your blind spots, and walk with you when the road becomes tough. The second step is to respect the power of constancy. Not just the huge steps, not just the breakthroughs, but the small, often unnoticeable actions you do daily, the routines, habits, and choices that seem trivial. When compounded over time, they form the life you want or one you regret. Consistency differentiates wishful thinking from inevitable results. You don't have to do everything. You simply need to do the correct things long enough for them to compound. But most people don't. They start and halt, sprint and crash. They treat discipline as a short-term endeavor, not a permanent commitment. Financial mastery isn't about luck or one brilliant decision, it's about sustained behavior. Anyone can save money once, invest once, or work hard for a week. But the people who conquer their destiny are the ones who do it when it's boring, silent, and there's no instant reward. That's when consistency counts most. Not when it's simple, but when it's inconvenient. Because it's what builds character, what sets habits you can rely on, and creates a foundation that holds strong when life rattles. You won't establish a new financial future based on emotional decisions. You'll build it on routines, habits, and automatic follow-through. It comes from the decision to show up and do the work, even when it's not thrilling. You can't afford to keep restarting. Every reset costs you time, momentum, and compound growth. The hardest part of growing isn't starting. It's staying in it long enough to see benefits. But the prize is worth it. Once consistency becomes part of your identity, the effort seems different. You're no longer dragging yourself through it, you're being who you are. Discipline is no longer an external force, it's part of your DNA. You cease overreacting to your emotions since how you feel doesn't impact what needs to be done. This kind of clarity gives tranquility, power, and a solid foundation, even when everything else feels uncertain. Consistency is not about perfection, it's about resilience. It's about recovering swiftly, modifying without quitting, and staying connected to your objective even when motivation is gone. Want to change your financial future? Find the essential habits that move the needle and perform them daily. Don't seek new tricks. Focus on the things worth repeating, the foundational, often dull work. Track your money. Review your goals. Automate your savings. Set aside time each week to learn something new. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. These behaviors aren't complicated, but they work if you let them. Most people give up because they anticipate fast results. They confuse stillness with failure, but silence is part of the process. Growth takes time to materialize, and just because it's not loud doesn't mean it's not happening. Trust the rhythm, respect the process. Know that every modest, conscious action you make today is either moving you closer to financial mastery or pushing you further from it. The beauty of consistency is that it doesn't take genius, it just intention, discipline, and a deep enough reason to keep coming up. Find that cause, remind yourself of it every day, protect it, and let it power your rhythm. The eighth technique is to think in terms of ownership, not just income. Many individuals are taught to work for a paycheck and chase a wage, and while earning money via hard work is vital, it's not enough to establish true financial freedom. Income sustains today, but ownership ensures tomorrow. To master your financial destiny, transition from labor-driven thinking to asset-driven thinking. Ask yourself, what do I possess that earns money while I sleep? What am I building that can outlive my efforts? Because the moment you quit working, your income stops unless you've developed something that continues. Ownership provides you leverage. It permits your money to work when you're not, and your ideas to keep expanding even while you rest. It provides you options, and options are the cornerstone of freedom. If every dollar in your life is related to your time, you'll always be restricted by your time. Ownership doesn't have to start huge. You don't need millions to begin, but you do need the appropriate mindset. You need to start perceiving possibilities differently, to stop spending everything you make, to stop consuming everything you touch, and to start thinking like a creator, a builder, and an investment. When you think like an owner, you operate differently. You ask different queries. You stop asking and begin asking, is this helping me build something that gives me freedom? You begin evaluating chances not just for immediate returns, but for their long-term value. This applies to every facet of life. You can own real estate. You can own equity in businesses. You can own intellectual property, your own brand, your skill set, or even your own systems. You can own your calendar, your process, and your platform. Ownership is about taking control over your future, your plan, and your product, and it starts tiny. Maybe it's contributing to a retirement account, or establishing a side hustle, or creating something that addresses a need and putting your name on it. The point isn't what you own today, it's about adopting the mindset of someone who accumulates assets. You stop seeing yourself as just a consumer, stop living paycheck to paycheck, and stop chasing instant fulfillment. You become more strategic, patient, and intentional. Because money isn't generated in spurts, it's created through processes, leverage, and compounded return. And you can only access these when you move from an employee attitude to thinking like someone who owns the results. This doesn't mean you have to establish a business, but it does mean you take ownership of your work, your outcomes, your financial education, and your investment in yourself. No one else will do it for you. No one is coming to hand you freedom. You earn it via ownership, and ownership involves guts since there are no guarantees. There's no clock to punch, no supervisor to blame. It's your name on the line, and that's what makes it strong. When the wins come, they're yours. When the returns show up, you're not waiting for approval. You become someone who lives on your own terms, someone who can walk away from toxic situations, say no to misaligned chances, and select your time, your focus, and your future because you've established something that provides you options. That type of power, that kind of freedom doesn't happen quickly, but it starts the minute you transition from renting your life to owning it, from depending on others to creating for yourself, from seeking short-term rewards to generating long-term riches. The eighth method is to make your self-belief louder than your self-doubt. No approach works if you don't feel you can execute it. No chance lasts if you don't believe you're deserving of it. And no amount of income will stay if your identity still tells you, I don't deserve this. Your belief is the thermostat of your life. You won't outperform it for long. You can fake it for a time, you can grind for a while, but ultimately your inner world will catch up. If your belief is low, your income will return to what feels familiar. If your belief is high, when your belief is strong, you can suffer setbacks, rise from defeat, and rebuild when everything falls apart. Self-belief isn't about ego or conceit. It's not loud or flamboyant. It's quiet, entrenched, and extremely personal. It's the voice inside that says, even if I don't know how yet, I'll figure it out. It's the unwillingness to be counted out, the choice to gamble on yourself when no one else would. Most people never reach financial mastery not because they lack the tools, but because they lack confidence. Not in the market, not in themselves. They delay, second guess, undervalue, or refuse to take action, not because they're incapable, but because they mistrust their own competence. That doubt emerges everywhere in how you speak, how you negotiate, how you respond to opportunities, and how you handle risk. But this can change. Belief is a muscle, and you strengthen it by doing hard things, by following through, by keeping your promises to yourself. As you accomplish this, you develop into someone you can trust. You don't have to wait until you feel ready to believe in yourself. You start right now. You take action in the face of doubt. You execute even when you're terrified. And each time you do, you offer your mind proof, evidence, and fuel. You start rewriting your identity. Confidence doesn't grow in silence, it grows in motion. It's built when you show up, when you launch your idea, when you raise your price, when you ask the hard question, when you go into the room and embrace your value, even if your voice shakes. When things don't go as planned, you don't shrink or withdraw. You remind yourself that this is part of the process. You study, learn, adjust, but you don't stop. The most harmful thing you can do is question yourself into delay. There's no shortcut around this. You can gather all the information in the world, but if you don't believe you belong in the discourse, you'll quiet yourself before you have a chance to rise. Your true work starts within, in the way you communicate to yourself when no one's around. It starts with what you tell yourself after a failure. It's about how you structure your story. Are you the underdog, the one who's continually falling short, or are you the one who always rises, no matter the odds? Self-belief isn't about ignoring your imperfections. It's about accepting them and choosing improvement anyway. It's recognizing you're not perfect, but stepping up fully, speaking with confidence, asking for what you're worth, and resolving you won't stay little. Doubt will always be there. That voice won't disappear, but believing can get louder, stronger, and more practiced. That belief will shape your decisions, and your decisions will form your consequences. Over time, you'll look back and realize it wasn't luck or someone else's permission. It was you. Next, the 10th technique is to take relentless action, not random emotional spurts of activity, followed by long periods of inaction. It's relentless, concentrated, the kind that pushes you forward, even when motivation fades. The sort that says, I'll show up anyway. The kind that makes your advancement inevitable because you refuse to quit. The most successful people aren't always the most gifted or the smartest. But they act. They move. They don't let the search of perfection stop their growth. They don't need constant instruction. They get clear on their goals and take action. Action is the great separator. It's what transforms dreams into plans and plans into outcomes. It's what turns promise into performance. Everyone has ideas. Everyone has goals. But it's the people who take persistent, imperfect steps toward those aims every day who develop anything. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never begin. If you wait until you know all the answers, you'll miss out. And if you wait for permission, you'll spend your whole life waiting. Action isn't optional. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Action educates you. It shows you what works and what doesn't. It gives you feedback and clarity. You don't develop clarity by thinking. You gain it by performing. Being in motion is how you find your way. It's not about sitting back and waiting for the perfect plan to fall into place. It's about building it as you go. Every step you take reveals the next, but you'll never see it if you're caught in doubt. The longer you wait, the more worry builds. But when you act, fear starts to dissipate. If you want to master your financial destiny, take action. Apply for that job, start the side business, learn the new skill, ask the question, develop the plan, establish the account. Invest in yourself. Stop holding on to untapped potential. Stop creating excuses for inaction. Stop romanticizing preparedness. The time spent planning may be used to start building. The time spent watching others may be spent becoming better. The time spent worrying may be used to perform. Your breakthrough isn't in a faultless strategy. It's in your next decision. And don't confuse action with noise. Being busy isn't the same as making progress. Constant overwhelm doesn't correlate to achievement. You don't need to accomplish more. You need to focus on what matters and do it consistently, relentlessly. Review, adjust, repeat. That rhythm will push you further than motivation ever would. That rhythm will generate trust in yourself. It will open doors, and over time, it will multiply into independence. Because freedom isn't found in one huge move. It's found in the discipline of daily improvement. It's found in your ability to do the hard thing over and over. It's found in your refusal to stop. You don't need to shout about it. You don't need to announce every move. Just move. Just act. Let your results speak for you. Let your consistency tell the story. Let your follow-through set you distinct. Most people wait. Most people hope. But only few take unrelenting action. And those who do, they change everything. They become the leaders. They become the creators. The folks who produce something enduring are those who take action. So, whatever has been weighing on your heart, whether it's an idea, a habit, a goal, or a conversation you've been putting off, take action today. Don't let fear hold back your future. Don't let comfort postpone your calling. You don't need more certainty, you need more bravery. Mastering your financial destiny isn't only about making more money. It's about becoming someone different. Someone stronger, someone more intentional. It's about being a person who doesn't just react to life, but takes control of it. It's about deciding, again and again, that your future will be formed by design, not by default. You can't float into abundance. You can't stumble into independence. And you surely can't construct something lasting through shortcuts. skepticism, or delay. You develop it with principles, with the correct mindset, with consistent action, and with the choice to lead yourself, especially when no one else is looking. The 10 tactics you've learned in this session are basic, but simple doesn't equal easy. It means they demand depth, consistency, repetition, humility, and guts. They require you to stop hoping for the world to make it easier and to start being the kind of person who can manage whatever it takes. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know everything. But you must take action. You must commit. Stop beginning anew and start digging deeper. Mastery isn't about knowing, it's about doing. It's about living it. It's about turning up especially when you'd rather quit. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming who you've always been capable of being. Someone who realizes their value, someone who builds systems instead of excuses, someone who doesn't wait to be saved because they've already chosen to take responsibility. The route to financial freedom isn't a straight line. It will challenge you, stretch you, break old patterns, and test all you believed about money, success, and what you deserve. But if you stick with it, if you trust these concepts and implement them regularly, you will evolve. And as you change, everything around you will change too. You won't need to shout about it. Your tranquility will speak. Your attention will speak. Your progress will speak. People will wonder what happened. And you'll know. You'll know that you quit living like a victim and started thinking like an owner. You'll know that you quit seeking comfort and started constructing a legacy. You'll know that your future wasn't dictated by luck. It was formed by your leadership. So wherever you are right now, whatever your starting point, whatever your story, make a decision. Decide that you're done devoting your future to dread. Decide that you're done repeating old routines. Decide that your life will be different, not because someone granted you permission, but because you choose to use the ideas that work. You don't need someone to save you. You don't need another guarantee. You already have everything you need: your head, your emotions, your time, these strategies, and the power to choose.